The best foods for a long, healthy life, what science actually says. How to nourish your body for longevity isn't just about following the latest trendy diet. It's about understanding what decades of scientific research actually tells us about the foods that promote a longer, healthier life. I've spent years reviewing the research, and what I've found might surprise you. There's remarkable consistency in what the science says. When you look at the world's blue zones, regions where people routinely live past 100 in good health, you'll notice they share certain dietary patterns. These communities in Okinawa, Sardinia, Nicoya, Ikaria, and Loma Linda don't follow complex diet rules. Instead, they naturally consume mainly plant-based foods, vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, and nuts. Meat is typically a side dish, not the main event. The Mediterranean diet has perhaps the strongest evidence behind it, consistently associated with reduced risk of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and even some cancers. What makes it special? It's rich in olive oil, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, and fish, with moderate wine consumption and limited red meat. The research is so compelling that when doctors themselves get diagnosed with heart disease, this is often the diet they adopt. You might be wondering about all the other diets you've heard about. While ketogenic, paleo, and various fasting regimens each have their proponents and some promising research, none have the decades of large population studies behind them that the Mediterranean pattern does. That doesn't make them wrong, just less proven for long-term health. What about specific superfoods? While blueberries, kale, and salmon get lots of attention, no single food is magic. The research consistently shows it's your overall pattern that matters most. That said, there are food groups that appear particularly beneficial: leafy greens, berries, nuts, fatty fish, olive oil, and fermented foods all have impressive evidence behind them. Perhaps most interesting is what the science says about longevity foods across cultures. Whether you're examining traditional Japanese, Mediterranean, or Latin American diets, certain patterns emerge. They're rich in plants, include healthy fats, incorporate fermented foods, and treat meat more as a garnish than a centerpiece. Sugar and highly processed foods are notably absent or rare. What this means for you is refreshingly simple: eat plenty of vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, and legumes. Choose whole grains over refined ones. Include fatty fish and olive oil. Enjoy fermented foods like yogurt. Limit processed foods, added sugars, and excessive red meat. And perhaps most importantly, find a healthy eating pattern you can actually enjoy and maintain. The science is clear that there is no need for extreme measures or eliminating entire food groups. The foods that promote longevity are varied, delicious, and accessible. I encourage you to think less about short-term diets and more about gradually shifting toward an eating pattern that both science and centuries of human experience suggest will help you live not just longer, but better. The best foods for a long, healthy life, what science actually says. How to fuel your body for longevity and optimal health. It's a question that has fascinated humans throughout history. Today, I want to talk about what science actually tells us about the foods that can help you live a longer, healthier life. When you look at the research on longevity and nutrition, certain patterns emerge. Blue zones, regions where people consistently live past 100, provide fascinating insights. In Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy, and Ikaria, Greece, you'll find diets rich in whole, plant-based foods. These centenarians aren't following strict diets, they're eating traditional foods that have nourished their communities for generations. The Mediterranean diet has received the most scientific validation for longevity benefits. It emphasizes olive oil, nuts, seeds, fish, and abundant vegetables. Research shows that following this pattern can reduce your risk of heart disease, stroke, and cognitive decline. The polyphenols in olive oil, the omega-3s in fish, and the fiber in vegetables all work together to reduce inflammation and oxidative stress, two key drivers of aging. But it's not just about the Mediterranean. Research on the traditional Japanese diet shows similar benefits from regular consumption of fish, seaweed, fermented foods, green tea, and minimal processed foods. What these longevity-promoting diets share is an emphasis on whole foods and plants, with minimal ultra-processed items. Specific foods deserve special attention. Nuts and seeds might be small, but research shows eating a handful daily is associated with a 20% reduced risk of premature death. Berries, with their potent antioxidants, can help protect your brain as you age. Fatty fish provides those essential omega-3s that benefit heart and brain health. Fermented foods deliver probiotics that nurture your gut microbiome, increasingly recognized as crucial for overall health and immunity. You might be wondering about more restrictive approaches like intermittent fasting or caloric restriction. While animal studies show promising results, human research is still evolving. What's clear is that avoiding overeating and giving your digestive system regular breaks appears beneficial. The timing of when you eat may matter almost as much as what you eat. I want to emphasize that no single superfood will dramatically extend your life. Longevity comes from consistent patterns over time. The occasional indulgence won't erase years of healthy eating, just as one day of vegetables won't counteract a generally poor diet. It's about creating sustainable habits you can maintain for decades. Perhaps the most important insight from longevity research is that in blue zones, food is about more than nutrition, it's about connection. These communities prepare meals from scratch, eat together, and view food as a source of pleasure and togetherness. This social aspect of eating may be just as important as the nutrients on your plate. So what's the takeaway? Fill your plate with colorful vegetables, enjoy fish and plant proteins, incorporate nuts and seeds, use olive oil liberally, and don't fear fermented foods. Limit ultra-processed foods, excessive red meat, and added sugars. And perhaps most importantly, share your meals with others whenever possible. The science of nutrition continues to evolve, but these principles have stood the test of time. Your daily food choices are powerful medicine. They're an investment in your future health that pays dividends with each passing year. What will you put on your plate today? The best foods for a long, healthy life, what science actually says. How to nourish your body for longevity is a question that has fascinated humanity for centuries. Today, I want to share with you what science actually reveals about the foods that promote a long, healthy life. This isn't about fad diets or the latest trendy superfoods. It's about the consistent patterns researchers have observed across populations with exceptional longevity. When you examine the diets of centenarians, those remarkable individuals who live past 100, certain patterns emerge regardless of their geography. From Okinawa, Japan to Sardinia, Italy, these blue zone regions show striking similarities in their dietary approaches. At the core of these longevity diets is a plant-forward approach. You'll notice these populations consume abundant vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, and nuts, making plants the foundation of nearly every meal. Particularly impressive is the role of legumes, beans, lentils, chickpeas, which appear consistently in virtually all longevity diets worldwide. When you incorporate these protein-rich, fiber-packed foods regularly, you are following one of the most evidence-based dietary patterns for extending lifespan. They provide sustained energy, help regulate blood sugar, and support a healthy gut microbiome, increasingly recognized as crucial for longevity. Another fascinating aspect is the moderate consumption of fermented foods. From yogurt and kefir to kimchi, sauerkraut, and miso, fermented foods provide beneficial probiotics that enhance your gut health and may strengthen your immune system. These traditional preservation methods have inadvertently created foods that modern science now recognizes as beneficial for extending healthy years of life. What about fish and seafood? The research suggests moderate consumption of fatty fish provides valuable omega-3 fatty acids that support brain health and reduce inflammation, a key driver of age-related diseases. You don't need large portions. Small amounts a few times weekly appear optimal based on longevity studies. Perhaps surprising is what longevity diets typically limit: processed foods, added sugars, and excessive meat consumption, particularly processed meats. When you minimize these in your diet, you're reducing exposure to compounds that can promote inflammation and oxidative stress, two processes that accelerate aging at the cellular level. The Mediterranean approach to olive oil also deserves mention. Using this as your primary fat source provides monounsaturated fats and polyphenols that protect your cardiovascular system and may even help preserve cognitive function as you age. The evidence supporting olive oil's benefits is particularly robust. What I find most encouraging about longevity nutrition is its flexibility and focus on enjoyment. The longest-lived populations don't count calories or obsess over macronutrients. They simply eat real, minimally processed foods in reasonable amounts, often sharing meals with loved ones. Your relationship with food matters just as much as the specific ingredients. Remember that consistency matters more than perfection. You don't need to transform your diet overnight or eliminate everything you enjoy. Small, sustainable shifts toward more plants, legumes, and whole foods while reducing ultra-processed options can significantly impact your long-term health trajectory. So as you consider your next meal, think of it as an opportunity to nourish your body for the long term. The foods that promote longevity aren't exotic or expensive, they're the simple, whole foods that humans have thrived on for generations. Your daily food choices are powerful medicine, quietly shaping your health destiny with every bite. How to eat for longevity. The food science says will help you live longer. How to fuel your body for a longer, healthier life. That's the question we're all asking, isn't it? With so much nutrition advice floating around, it can be overwhelming to figure out what actually works versus what's just another passing fad. When I started researching longevity diets, I was struck by how much solid scientific evidence exists on this topic. It's not just about living longer, it's about living better during those extra years. The foods you eat today literally build your body tomorrow, affecting everything from your cellular health to your brain function. Let's talk about what the research consistently shows. The Mediterranean diet continues to dominate longevity studies. People in blue zones, regions where folks regularly live past 100, typically follow variations of this eating pattern. It's rich in olive oil, nuts, seeds, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and fish, with minimal processed foods and red meat. But what exactly makes these foods so powerful? Antioxidants found in colorful fruits and vegetables combat oxidative stress, which is basically the rust that accumulates in your cells over time. Berries, especially blueberries, contain compounds that may protect your brain from age-related decline. When you eat these foods regularly, you're essentially providing your body with the tools it needs for DNA repair and cellular maintenance. Interestingly, it's not just about what you eat but how you eat. In Okinawa, Japan, home to some of the world's longest-lived people, there's a practice called hara-hachi-bu, which means eating until you're 80% full. This natural form of calorie restriction appears to activate longevity pathways in your body. Science suggests that occasional fasting or time-restricted eating may offer similar benefits. Fermented foods deserve special mention here. Kimchi, sauerkraut, yogurt, and other fermented delights support your gut microbiome, those trillions of bacteria that influence everything from your immunity to your mood. A diverse, healthy gut microbiome is increasingly linked to longevity. When you eat fermented foods, you're essentially feeding the good bacteria that help protect you from disease. What about protein? This is where the research gets nuanced. While high-protein diets are popular for weight loss, some longevity research suggests moderating animal protein intake, especially in middle age. Plant proteins from legumes, nuts, and seeds don't seem to have the same potential drawbacks. If you look at the protein sources in blue zones, they're predominantly plant-based, with animal products used more as a garnish than a main course. One thing that surprised me in my research was the consistent finding that social connections around food matter nearly as much as the food itself. Sharing meals with loved ones, cooking together, enjoying food without guilt or stress, these practices appear to contribute significantly to well-being and longevity. When you eat in a relaxed, joyful environment, your body actually processes nutrients more efficiently. I've found in my own life that shifting toward these eating patterns doesn't have to be all or nothing. Small, consistent changes add up over time. Maybe it's adding an extra serving of vegetables, swapping fish for red meat once a week, or introducing more beans and lentils into your meals. The beauty of the longevity diet is that it's not about deprivation, it's about abundance of the right foods. Remember, the goal isn't perfection but progress. Your food choices today are investments in your future health. The science is clear, what you eat matters, but a rigid, stress-inducing approach to diet can undermine the very benefits you're trying to achieve. Balance, variety, and enjoyment remain the foundations of eating for a long, vibrant life. The best foods for a long, healthy life, what science actually says. How to enhance your longevity through dietary choices. That's the question many of us ask ourselves as we navigate the overwhelming sea of nutrition advice. For years, I've been fascinated by the connection between what we eat and how long we live. Today, I want to explore what the scientific research actually tells us about the foods that promote a longer, healthier life. When you examine the diets of the world's longest living populations, places like Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy, and Ikaria, Greece, you'll notice some fascinating patterns. These communities, often called blue zones, share dietary habits that seem to contribute to their remarkable longevity. Their plates are predominantly filled with plant foods, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and legumes. Animal products appear more as garnishes than main attractions. Let's talk about plant foods first. The evidence supporting their benefits is substantial. Vegetables and fruits are packed with antioxidants that combat oxidative stress, a key factor in aging. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, and collards deserve special mention. They're nutritional powerhouses, rich in vitamins, minerals, and compounds that may slow cognitive decline. Research consistently shows that higher vegetable consumption correlates with reduced mortality from all causes. Legumes, beans, lentils, chickpeas, appear to be particularly powerful longevity foods. In blue zone regions, inhabitants consume about a cup of beans daily. Studies have linked legume consumption with reduced risk of heart disease, improved blood sugar regulation, and greater overall longevity. Their combination of protein, fiber, and complex carbohydrates makes them truly exceptional for your health. Whole grains deserve your attention too. Despite some popular diet trends vilifying carbohydrates, the scientific evidence suggests that whole, minimally processed grains benefit longevity. They provide essential fiber, vitamins, and minerals while helping to regulate blood sugar and reduce inflammation. Populations with high whole grain consumption typically show lower rates of heart disease, certain cancers, and overall mortality. What about nuts and seeds? These small nutritional giants have been associated with longer life in numerous studies. A handful of mixed nuts daily could reduce your risk of premature death by about 20%, according to some research. Their healthy fats, protein, fiber, and micronutrients make them one of the most nutrient-dense foods you can consume. Regarding animal foods, the picture is more nuanced. The longest living populations aren't strictly vegetarian, but they do limit animal product consumption. Fish appears more frequently than meat in blue zone diets. Rich in omega-3 fatty acids, fish consumption has been linked to reduced heart disease risk and better brain health. If you enjoy animal products, Prioritizing fish over red meat might be a wise choice for longevity. Fermented foods deserve special mention. Kimchi, sauerkraut, yogurt, and other fermented foods feature prominently in many traditional diets associated with longevity. They support gut health, which growing evidence suggests is fundamentally connected to overall health and aging. A diverse microbiome may help reduce inflammation and strengthen immunity, potentially adding years to your life. Let's not forget about olive oil, a cornerstone of the Mediterranean diet, consistently ranked among the healthiest eating patterns. Its monounsaturated fats and polyphenols have anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Regular consumption has been linked to reduced risk of heart disease, stroke, and some types of cancer. What you don't eat matters too. The longest living populations generally consume minimal processed foods, refined sugars, and factory-farmed meats. These modern dietary staples have been associated with increased inflammation, cellular damage, and chronic disease, all enemies of longevity. Remember that no single food is a magic bullet. The power appears to lie in dietary patterns rather than isolated superfoods. Variety ensures you get a broad spectrum of nutrients and beneficial compounds. The synergy between different foods often provides benefits greater than what any single food can offer alone. Beyond what you eat, how you eat matters too. Blue zone inhabitants typically eat until they're 80% full, rather than completely stuffed. They also tend to enjoy meals slowly, in community with others, and with minimal stress, practices that enhance digestion and foster well-being. The science of nutrition continues to evolve, but the fundamentals remain surprisingly consistent. A predominantly plant-based diet rich in whole, minimally processed foods appears to offer the best chance at a long, healthy life. This doesn't mean you need radical changes overnight. Even small shifts toward more plants, whole grains, and healthy fats can meaningfully the best foods for a long, healthy life. What science actually says. How to nurture your body with foods that science has proven can extend your lifespan and improve your health. I've spent years researching nutrition science, and I'm excited to share what I've discovered about the foods that truly make a difference for longevity. Let's start with the Mediterranean diet, consistently ranked as one of the most effective eating patterns for extending lifespan. It's not just a trend. Numerous long-term studies show that people who closely follow this diet live longer and experience lower rates of heart disease, cancer, and cognitive decline. The secret lies in its emphasis on olive oil, fish, colorful vegetables, nuts, and moderate wine consumption. These foods work synergistically to reduce inflammation and oxidative stress, two key drivers of aging. What about those famous blue zones where people routinely live past 100? When researchers studied these regions closely, they found some fascinating commonalities in their diets. Beans and legumes appear on their plates almost daily. These humble foods provide a perfect combination of plant protein, fiber, and complex carbohydrates. The Okinawans in Japan eat sweet potatoes as their staple food, while the Sardinians in Italy incorporate chickpeas and fava beans regularly. The message is clear: legumes deserve a prominent place in your diet. You might be wondering about fatty fish. The evidence for their benefits is compelling. The omega-3 fatty acids in salmon, mackerel, and sardines have been extensively studied for their anti-inflammatory properties and their ability to protect your brain as you age. Research suggests 2-3 servings weekly provides optimal benefits without concerns about mercury. Don't overlook fermented foods either. Yogurt, kimchi, sauerkraut, and other fermented foods support your gut microbiome, that community of trillions of bacteria that influence everything from your immune system to your mood. Recent research from Stanford University showed that a diet rich in fermented foods increases microbial diversity and reduces inflammatory markers in just 10 weeks. What about those colorful fruits and vegetables? They're not just pretty on your plate, they're packed with polyphenols and antioxidants that help your cells resist damage. Blueberries deserve special mention for their impressive cognitive benefits, with studies showing they can delay brain aging by up to 2.5 years. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, and arugula consistently appear in longevity research for their dense nutritional profile. But nutrition science isn't just about what to add, it's also about what to moderate. Processed meats have been definitively linked to increased cancer risk, while ultra-processed foods correlate with higher mortality rates across multiple studies. The evidence suggests that replacing these foods with whole, minimally processed alternatives may add years to your life. Remember that no single food is magical, it's your overall pattern that matters most. The research points to diets rich in plants, moderate in animal products, and low in processed foods as the most powerful approach for longevity. Small, consistent choices add up over time. I hope this exploration of longevity nutrition has been useful. In the end, the most powerful diet is one you can maintain for life, a way of eating that brings you joy while nourishing your body for the long haul. What small change might you make today to incorporate more of these life-extending foods into your meals?